All right, welcome to Shooting Hoops in the Boot. Mark Manley, Jeremy Abrams, Chris Brown, Charlie Duckworth, the intern, who is back from the Royal Rumble, baby. How's it going, guys?
Good. Great.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Boothelish, outstandish.
There you go. That's a new word on the dictionary right there. Look it up. Boot Hillish. And you'll see a picture of the Boot Hill Conference tournament going on. Ain't that right, fellas?
That's right.
Well, we've had a lot of fun with this one, man. I'll tell you what, great and exciting games last night. We'll get to those later on, but we're going to start all the way back at day one, which was Saturday, when we put 10 games on the air. Chris Brown, you opened it up with the Lady Dogs. Let's talk about a little bit of that, man.
You know what? We got there early. It was 8 a.m. when we all come dragging into that parking lot. And
they were cooking breakfast.
There might have been two cars besides ours in the parking lot, but nonetheless, we had four. We started out with four varsity girls games. Of course, the number 1 seed Portersville Lady Bulldogs and the number 8 seed Croswell Tigers. You know, that one kind of went the way it was supposed to go. Portersville, man, they're tough, and that press just made it hard on Coach Coleman and the Lady Tigers. They ended up winning that one 71-9. That's how we got started as the turbo clock ran. And we moved into the second game. A little bit better pairing this time. South Pim, Lady Bulldogs, and the Zenith Hornersville. You know, they got them shooters. Zenith Hornersville, Lady Lions, Panky and Jamerson.
Yes.
That's right. But you know what, guys? South Pimmiscott Lady Bulldogs kind of just run over them.
They did.
I was a little bit surprised by that. They ended up winning that one 58-27. Man, let's talk about, Takala Wooden. I think that's pronouncing her name right. She had 25 points in that game, and Malia Duckworth had 19 for the side. And they had the team on their shoulders, and Coach Robert Farmer and Coach Bailey Clark, they had their team ready to go at, what was it, maybe 10 o'clock, 10:15?
Yeah.
So they ended up moving on. Then we moved into the third game, and probably the best game of the whole Saturday, arguably, Holcomb Lady Hornets and the Hayti Lady Indians. Holcomb had beaten Hayti twice already. They always say it's tough to beat the same team 3 times. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, Holcomb had a hard time, but Coach Alexa Stockton, we had her on halftime and talked to her a little bit. She knows how to coach. She knows how to get her girls over the hump. But kudos to Hayti, Coach Jordan James, Coach Samantha Jones, they had them girls ready to go at 11:30. So
yeah.
That was a great game, guys. That one came down to the end. It got us a little bit of excitement there because the other two games were not so close. But Holcomb ends up winning that one, 39-38, and they move on. And then we go to the fourth game of the day was the number 2 seed Malden Lady Green Wave, who they're the number 2 seed for a reason, and they played the number 7 Lady Camels from Camel, Coach Laura Foster. Coaching them, of course, Coach Ty Miller. You had an interview with him after the second win. But Malden, they pretty much had an easy time with Campbell. They won 62-34. A lot of girl talent out there in the Boot Hill Conference. I hadn't seen really anybody but Portersville. I did get to see Malden earlier. Didn't really see Crothersville before this. Saw Zenith Hornersville. They didn't really look good at home when we beat them earlier in the season. But, you had your top 4 seeds moving on as expected. The only close call was Holcomb, the number 3 seed, barely squeaked by the number 6 seed Hayti Lady Indians. And then that's pretty much a wrap for the girls. 3 blowouts, 1 close game. And then we moved on into game number 5. We started out with the JV boys, Zenith and South Pim.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy. I'll tell you what, before Jeremy talks, Chris, I was very impressed with that Malden. They got some shooters, too. That Cohen, I believe, wears number 5. And, the little, what's her name, Tina? Not Lola, but it's not Lola, but it's
Mariah
what?
Loya.
Loya. Yeah,
Yeah,
Loya.
she's a
Yeah.
senior on the
Yeah, that
team.
girl.
Yeah, and they got
Yeah.
some youth. They got some youth on that ball club. They only got 2 seniors. Loya's one of them. I was impressed with Carson Cohen, sophomore.
Very much.
Pretty
Yes.
much point guard of that team. They got some pieces as well in that team. The Peterson girl, freshman. The Mathis girl stepped up big. She's a junior. The Hastania Jackson. She's a great athlete as well, and she's a junior. So, we'll get on into this, but, them girls come into that game with their sights set toward the end of this tournament to face them Portersville Lady Bulldogs, as Portersville did beat them in the regular season. And there's, some revenge games that we got to look forward to coming up. We'll talk about that. But, yeah, I was impressed with Malden, Coach Ty Miller. Plus, let me throw this in there, too. Them girls paid ultimate respect to, Mark, one of our good friends, the late Coach Ron Riddle. I've known Ron for a lot of years. I think my dad started coaching his baseball team or coaching his age group when he was about 13. I might have been about 16, 17, helping my dad coach them. He grew up to be, just an awesome guy. I got to work with him at Hayti when he came to coach there, helped him out. That's pretty much the start of my stat keeping. I was not really assistant coach, but I did help Coach Ron Riddle with the junior high Hayti Indians back in some years ago. I won't tell how many years ago, but it was just nice to see that those ladies, and plus Coach Miller said it was their idea to come up with, paying tribute to Coach Ron Riddle. Man, he's forever in our hearts. I'll never forget him. It's, and definitely in times like these, although I didn't see him every day, but in times like these at Bootheel Conference Tournament, man, he's surely missed, and he's deeply missed by me, and I know he is by you, Mark.
Yeah. Me and Ron go way back as well, man. We actually worked together at MoFab, a factory there in Crosville. We rode to work together, man. So we got to know each other real good. And of course, he moved on to the coaching world, man. So we still stayed in contact and still talked to this day, man, until, sad news came about. And really surprising. And, man, I just got chills right now just talking about Coach Riddle and what a great guy he was, man. He's left the impact on this world. And definitely left the impact on those girls, obviously. And, man, he is definitely missed. And you can feel his presence in that gym for sure. Jeremy, let's talk about the JV bracket a little bit, man. I know Hayti got the number 1 seed. They got a bye. And they did not play Saturday, but we still had some great action, man.
Well, we had, the number 2 seed, Crosville Tigers. They had Malden, and that game went well. Actually, I'll put this out there just for the entire day. All 14 hours of basketball with the Bootheel Sports Network, not one upset in day 1. So, we talked about it back in the Bloomfield Christmas tournament. The seedings so far turned out pretty much right, as we've only had one upset to this point. But the junior varsity boys, the Tigers came out there. They caught fire early, got on top of Malden. Malden, we talked about it. They like to shoot the 3. It's just a matter of making some. Crothersville just dominated that game to move on. Then you had the 3 versus 6. And I've got all my stats here, but they're all shuffled up.
Cena South Pam.
Cena South Pam. That one was a little bit. I had that one kind of on my radar as a possible upset. South Pam's got so many young shooters, Floyd and Powers, and the list goes on and on. But South Pam never seemed to really get going, and Zenith did, and Zenith proved that they deserved the 3 seed, and then the 4-5 seed. I thought
South Pam.
also,
Hey, Jeremy, they probably had the roughest game all day. South Pam JV.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
And of course, I got to give props to the South Pemscott fans. They really they really showed up for their guys. And I guess there was no real big surprises. It was just all the way through the junior varsity games. There was no give up in any team, regardless of the scores. it's set up for a good semifinal game. For semifinal day, I can tell you that. We were switching back and forth on the games, broadcasting. So a lot of teams, some of the teams I hadn't seen yet, the junior varsity especially, but I think all the right teams won, and they represented their seeds the right way, with everybody thinking about that number 1 seed Hayti getting in a little bit of extra breather. Who's going to have to play them, and will they not see them in the final? But as far as the junior varsity goes, like I said, every higher seed won, and that was expected. And that it kind of led it into more of the lopsided contests as we saw against the ladies. And when mentioning the ladies, I have to say, Porterville. All I can say is, wow, Chris, you're a lucky man to get to cover that team as much as you do, because they can put on a show, and there's a reason that they're state ranked.
Yeah, absolutely. That Portsville Bulldog lady team is tough, man, and we're gonna have continuing coverage of them as we have been signed and approved for Class 3 girls and boys. So Chris and Jeremy have all the Class 3 action, along with Charlie, and I'll have Class 2 along with me and the camera lady, Tina Manley, on that one. I guess Michael Jeffries will be with y'all as well. So we're going to have an outstanding coverage throughout the year as we did on Saturday. 10 games was a lot, guys. What a long day. But before we get in to talk about the varsity bracket, let's talk about Charlie Duckworth's trip to the Royal Rumble. Charlie, tell us how that was on Saturday while we were working our butts off calling 10 basketball games, how the Royal Rumble was.
Oh, man, it was amazing. Me and my dad went up there Friday. We saw a wrestling show that night. Then Saturday, we kind of just chilled, ate breakfast, came to the stadium around, like to say, about 2:30 Eastern time. And it was a struggle to find a place to eat because, 65K were expected in there. And it looked like 65K were down on the Market Square in Indianapolis. And there was a Pacers game that day too, so it was very, very hard to find a seat anywhere. But when we got in, it was packed. It was amazing. The women's rumble was great. I love the tag team match between DIY and the Motor City Machine Guns. The ladder match was perfect. I love the ladder match. And then the men's rumble didn't go the way I wanted it at all. But that's okay, because I'm 16 years old and I'm a big boy now.
There you go.
Charlie,
Go ahead.
Yeah, Charlie, you're going to have to say who the winner of that Royal Rumble was, because if you don't, I will have to hear that. I will have to hear crapping and complaining from my wife laying over there on the couch watching us right now, as that's her favorite wrestler. Who was it that won that, Charlie?
I think his name is like Jay. I think his name's Jay Uso.
Okay. Thank you. We got to go that far. Yeah.
I think more importantly, let's yeet while we do it real quick. But more importantly, Charlie, who exactly was it that he eliminated to win the Rumble?
Oh my gosh. One second. I'll be back in a second, guys.
Yeah, exactly. We couldn't see that final elimination.
He gone.
Can't see me, Charlie said. He just pulled a John Cena. Hey, while Charlie's doing his magic trick, I'm sure he's coming back with that Cena shirt on. There he is. But anyway, the varsity action, there was a lot of gripe about who should have got that number 1 seed, guys. And Campbell earned it, and they have held up to their end of the bargain. Crowsville is 2 seed, held up their end of the bargain last night, man. What a game we had for you last night on the Bootheel Sports Network in that semifinal matchup of Hayti and Carruthersville, man. Blow to blow, toe to toe, just like 2 heavyweights going at it. Jeremy, you and I had the privilege of calling that game, man. And I tell you what, I was exhausted today, man, just from all the energy we put into that one, man. And I got a little bit of news here. The date hasn't been confirmed, so I won't announce a date, but I know what date they're looking at. But hopefully, real soon, like real soon, there'll be a round 2 between those guys, man. I can't wait, man. It's going to be at Hayti. It's going to be off the chain, guys. Last night was just, I tell you what, somebody mentioned that it felt like old times, and it really did, man. The Hayti and Cruzville, Bootheel Rumble was really worth it, man. I tell you what, I could watch those 2 teams every day. Matter of fact, I went back and watched the replay last night a little bit and watched it again today and probably watch it again tomorrow. Who knows? Jeremy, how'd it feel, brother, to get that victory? And matter of fact, we got some breaking news here. On Sunday, on our regular scheduled podcast, the old beard's got to go. As I'm a man of my word, I lost my bet. So on Sunday, right here on Shooting Hoops in a Boot, old Mark Manley will get a shave.
Now, is Ashton going to be a part of this?
I don't think so, Jeremy.
Oh, I thought we were going to have it professionally done on the. Either way, a bet's a bet, and you're a man of your word, and I appreciate that. I'm not going to lie, especially after
you were scared, weren't you?
Well, the first quarter, and then at halftime, a 14-point deficit and 11-point deficit. I was sitting there feeling my face, thinking, "Oh no, what's this?" I mean, that goal. You know how it is. When you have a beard for a long time and you shave it fresh, you walk outside, that cold wind hits you in the face, and you don't want to do anything but just go back inside and cry. But yep, the beard staying intact, ladies. Catherine, and it was.
Easy.
Yeah, I know it was a joke.
He's gonna be in trouble. He's gonna be gone.
Hey, I got the ambulance. I got the ambulance ready for you, Jeremy. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I don't think she's tuned in yet. She's cooking dinner, so maybe she won't watch the replay. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
I'm just happy to say it's for my own good. The beard is staying with me because, and I never had any doubt. And you mentioned like the games of old, the rivalry of the Bootheel Sports Network. This shirt is probably older than Charlie Duckworth. I dug it out of the closet here. Old school Cruzville Tiger shirt for an old school victory, and and no bragging, because we had Coach Lamont Bell on and we talked to Coach Webb. Those two have the utmost respect for each other. The players on the court, it was an absolute wonderful experience, and just the views alone. I want to thank each and every one of you that tuned in, because 2,200 people can't be wrong.
Yeah, that's right, man.
But I know
killing
me
it,
and Mark,
guys.
you guys couldn't have seen it when you were watching the stream, but me and Mark were sitting right next to each other, yelling on top of each other, standing up during big threes, pushing each other back and forth. I mean, we had our own little rivalry right there, and I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as we did, because that was one of, if not the best basketball game that I've seen since I've been with the Bootheel Sports Network.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. And Coach Webb texted me earlier right before the show, man, and to see the emotion that him and Coach Bell put into it, and then the great sportsmanship we seen afterwards, man, the hugs and the high fives, and the shaking the hands and congratulating everybody. We know that Hayti, Cruzville, South Pim now has been added to the list. That sometimes we all get a bad reputation for the things that have happened in the past. So to see a great night of high school basketball and to be right here on the Bootheel Sports Network was just great, guys. We had viewership from around the United States. I know last night I said the world, but we all know, I'm pretty sure I could go back and somebody somewhere in a foreign country watch that game. If they didn't, they're going to get word of it and sure watch it, because it was great, man. Chris, give me your thoughts on it as a spectator. Well, I don't guess you're really spectating. You were keeping stats, so you might can go over some stats, man. I know Javante Payne had a heck of a game, man. I think he had 19 at the half. Cruzville did an awesome job of adjusting and shutting him down in the second half. He didn't drive the lane as much, man. I thought Hayti lost some intensity the second half. Kind of went to the zone defense when they probably, of course, they was in foul trouble, so, I guess they kind of had to. But, man, they took the old foot off the gas pedal, man, and let Cruzville back in that thing. And props to the Tigers and Lamont Bell for making adjustments, shutting down Payne from driving that lane, man, because he was killing it first half.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yeah, 10 3-pointers by each team. Let's start out with that stat, guys. The game was led by Bug Payne, Javante Payne. He had 28 points, and then of course Sammy Bryant had 21, and then Jermonte Alexander had 18 for Crothersville, and then Nikolai Combat had 19 for Hayti. So, I mean, those two guys on each team. You talking about going to war? Those four gentlemen went to war with each other. I know that Combat was matched up with McVeigh most of the night, and that battle was fun to see. But yeah, Mark, I did get to spectate some, but I'll tell you what, I was busy writing them stats down because every time I turned around, every somebody was scoring, doing something. But I believe the difference might have been McVeigh. He had 15. He was that third double-digit score for Crothersville. Hayti didn't have a third double-digit score. But, man, just an awesome game. I don't know it had to have been a minute since that gym in Portersville at Jim Bidwell Court has been that loud. Because, man, there was some loud things going on. It was so fun to be a part of and sit up there and watch that thing go back and forth. And I mean, it was just a treat for everybody in attendance and everybody who got to watch it on the Bootheel Sports Network. I mean, so that's pretty much it. There was some other little bit scores. Rogers had 8 for Crothersville. Jackson had 6. He had 2 3-pointers. Number 0. And it seemed like both of those at the time he hit them were big.
They were.
To either pull close to the deficit or even I think this one in the third quarter, the run that Crothersville had in the third quarter, you guys talked about it, Jeremy, with Coach Bell on the interview, and Mark, you talked about it as well. That third quarter deficit was tough to overcome, and Hayti did
difference in the game.
Yeah, it could have been the difference in the game.
And now you talk about big moments. Vincent Kidd coming off and making 2 clutch free throws, man.
Oh, man.
What a great moment for that kid. And Lamont Bell, he had a choice down there. He chose the right guy because he come in and nothing but net on 2 free throws. And the momentum was about to swing, too, man. Hayti had come down, tied things up, and then, back and forth as it was. When we got tied up at 61, I thought if Hayti ever ties it up, look out. Because, they had the lead most of the game, and once they fell behind, they couldn't get over that hump. And then when Combat hit the 3 to tie it up at 61, I really thought momentum swung Hayti's way. And another thing that I found interesting, and I got to give props to Coach Webb, as I did last night covering the game, and I even told him earlier when I was talking to him that he moved Keanthony Taylor up, who's been playing down all year. And we seen it last night. He had some effects on Crothersville shots. They had to change the direction, and then they had to put more arch on it to get over his big frame. So, great coaching move by him. And let's don't forget that Don Webb was sitting over there on that bench having to watch all this as a sharpshooting sophomore. So I bet it killed him missing his first battle of the Bootheel. And let's hope we get him well for what we need him most, and that's district time. Charlie, as a student, Chris has got one more. Yeah, we'll get Chris's comment. Go ahead.
One more thing, guys. I think the most important takeaway from this game is the importance of what Coach Lamont Bell learned about his team and what Coach Don Webb learned about his team. We talked about iron sharpening iron. There was a whole lot of iron sharpening going on in that ball game, guys. And so I think both of them coaches can take that information that they got on video and they can move on, because I know they're in different districts. But I mean, that's important takeaway from me for that. Charlie?
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere last night in Portageville. It was amazing to watch as a fan and just as a student of Crothersville. I bet it would have been way better to be calling the game, because every single moment it felt like a knockout blow got hit by someone. But like we were mentioning, Amari Benson, those 2 free throws. Amari's been my boy since kindergarten. So seeing him come in this year, big 2'5".
You gave him a big hug today.
I didn't give him a hug. I dapped him up, though. I dapped him up right after the game.
Yes.
And, man, he got a trick basket today, too. But him stepping up when it mattered and just hitting those 2 free throws. And, I mean, being on defense before Monte came back in after getting off and going into the locker room for a couple minutes. A big key moment right there for the Tigers. And then besides that, it was really game of runs. And then what I think really changed it was that second half where Crothersville just looked more fresh and more ready. Hayti kind of, I won't say sluggish, but they looked a little more tired, except Javante Payne. Yeah, he was the Flash out there. That was an insane visual to watch. Him just streaking across the court in 3 dribbles from half court to half court. It was crazy.
96 feet.
Yeah, it was just insane to watch the speed. And takeaway is that, I mean, it's another battle of Boot Hill win for Crothersville, baby.
Well, see, and my final
Yep.
My final thought on it was because especially after I went back and rewatched it, me and Mark. Well, actually, one little comedical thing I have to say. Me and Mark, we get loud, especially we got probably twice or 3 times as loud being the Battle of the Boot Heel. Mark, actually,
That's right.
you owe the cheerleaders an apology because at one point you scared them to half to death when you were screaming Javante Payne.
I want to say something. All the cheerleaders and everyone was asking, why is the Hayti guy so loud? And I was like, that's just Mark. That's just Mark for you.
And that's the thing. If they think he's loud, I get told all the time that I'm too loud because, Charlie, you're a little more soft-spoken in the games. But on a serious note, I went back and watched the game. We talked about the 3 Tigers in double-digit scoring. But, man, and it's right back to the point. Those 2 free throws from Amari Benson, who had not stepped onto the court. You're talking about an ice-cold player on the bench. And Jermonte, which in case you didn't see or didn't know, Jermonte Alexander came down hard. And as Coach said, he think he had tweaked his knee a little bit. But Jermonte came straight off the court. He was fouled. He went straight off the court into the locker room to be looked at. So Coach Bell had to look at the bench, and he picked Amari Benson. This was a minute and a half left in the game. Amari Benson, who had not seen 1 second on the court, comes in there, and both of them were textbook perfect free throws. To me, possibly, very possibly, even with all the threes, the tying threes back and forth, those 2 points may have been the 2 most important of the game, important points of the game. And I know even Coach Bell made a post on Facebook afterwards, giving a tip of the cap to Amari for coming in and helping seal the deal for the Crothersville win. And Amari, I just got to say, good job off the bench, buddy.
Tell you what, it reminded me of that scene in Hoosiers where the manager comes off the bench, shoots it under and sinks the 2 big free throws, man. What a great moment. And something I'm sure he will never forget, man, in the Battle of the Boot Hill to make 2 big free throws like that. And obviously he's a good kid. As Matt Duckworth, Charlie's daddy there, says he remembers coaching against Payne. He is lightning fast and always been a great athlete. Man, ain't that the truth, man? He is quick. And here, Ashton brings up a good point. Isaiah getting in foul trouble hurt the Indians a little bit. As we know, they're without Webb, so their bench, without moving those guys up, is not very much, man. I mean, got a couple of young guys been playing JV all year. They brought Pete up. Tremel Liddell, who had a big 3 in this game, he had been playing down all year as well, so they brought him up, man, and I just can't wait for round 2, man. I can't wait. Guys, we got championship night tomorrow night, so we're going to move in and talk about that. The first championship game is our JV game, and it's going to be the Hayti Indians against the Zenith Warrensville Lions. The Lions upset the Crothersville Tigers in the JV bracket. And I tell you what, I got some guys, Beard and Green. Those kids can play basketball. I know, Charlie, you had that Crothersville JV game. Tell us a little bit about the Hornersville Lions, man. Zenith Hornersville Lions.
Absolutely. Beard and Green were just out there hooping, really. They would find every single hole in the Tigers' defense and exploit that. Every single mistake. It was clinical. And then if that was getting stopped, they'd have Noblin out there for a 3, and he was just a bucket out there for 3.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed a lot was that I was told by Jeremy Abrams that they shot the 3 ball a lot. I saw a fair amount of 3s, but it wasn't like a aggressive 3-point team. They were very inside this game against the Tigers.
Well, see, and Noblin's not usually in the games I've seen, that I think that's the third game I've seen him play. I don't think he's usually that much of a 3-point shooter, but he was on target against the Tigers.
Absolutely. He was
Yeah, he was on
he could
fire,
not
man.
miss. He could not miss for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
and another thing to highlight was the Tigers were down 22 at one point. They're down 44-22, and they clawed back as hard as they could. I mean, Charmin Tillman hitting some big threes from far out in that game, and especially that fourth quarter really helped the Tigers get back in. It was just when they just came up too short at the end and couldn't seal the comeback against the Lions, and they just glided through to the end.
Our first
one-
upset of the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah. One important thing to note about Zenith Hornersville JV squad, they are very impressive. And most JV squads are coached by the assistant coach, but Coach Kyle Moore coaches those JV guys too. So, he does double duty. And, Coach Kyle Moore, me and Mark, we all know he's been one of the best players in the Bootheel for a long time, and he's got a great coaching mind. And that's what stood out to me as far as that goes, was his coaching. He knew when to not call a timeout. He knew when to call timeouts. Just a wonderful basketball mind, such a young man who's going to have a big future, I hope, in coaching a lot of young men, teaching them how to be great basketball players at Zenith, plus being great men as well.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing that we need to realize that Sawyer, who's just a sophomore, he plays up. So he's going to be with those guys come next year, man. And look out for Zenith Hornersville, man. They're going to be tough for a few more years. And then, of course, we had Hayti moving on in the championship game. It really wasn't, a ball game, really. Just Hayti dominated in fashion, man. They got some great guys. And Cameron Turner, one heck of a ball player there, man. And we're going to have a good championship game, man. I see matching up well, man. And matter of fact, this was the championship game last year in the JV bracket. Jeremy?
Oh, it's going to be fast. I know that. It's going to be fast-paced, and both teams can shoot. That's the difference. I think it's going to come down. Hayti really knows how to their defense. They know how to steal. They know how to pick the pockets and get those fast breaks. And then Zenith can turn right around and come back down the court and shoot the three, or they're really strong under the rim too. I think it's going to be the lightweights moving up to the heavyweights, and it's going to be a heavyweight bout. And gun to head, I couldn't pick a winner for you right now at all.
There you go, and it's going to be a great championship night, and we're going to be lead off tomorrow night with that JV game. But then we move on to the girls bracket. Chris Brown, your Portersville Bulldogs are in that championship game against a tough Malden Green Wave team, man. I'm going to tell you right now, they didn't have a bathroom for us really close. And last night I went into the girls' locker room that was a boys' locker room right now. So let me get that straight. It was Hayti's locker room, matter of fact. But anyway, I found it pretty neat on that blackboard that the coach wrote, "Next up, the Green Wave. Let's ride that wave." And what a statement. So Portersville is looking to make a statement, Chris Brown, and win a conference title right here tomorrow night on the Bootheel Sports Network.
Yeah, the new seeding come out in Class 3, and Portersville Lady Bulldogs, they only got 3 losses, 18-3, 19-3, something like that. I mean, and they played Malden. We had a triple header right here on the Bootheel Sports Network last week. I believe it was week before. I went to Malden, got to watch that game, and I tell you what, Malden Lady Green Wave gave Portageville all they wanted, probably for about a quarter and a half. That gym was loud because their fans at Malden know how important that game was, and I'm not expecting it. I'm expecting it to be a better game than it was then. I think Portersville knocked them off by about 20 plus because that press and the steals just got to be too much. But I have a feeling that it's going to be a great semi main event is what I want to call it. Is that Malden's going to bring their fans, them girls, and then Coach Ty Miller, right there on the court that Coach Ron Riddle played for Jim Bidwell on. Those state championship teams, they got a lot to play for, the Malden Lady Green Wave. And I'm just excited about that game. I can't wait. It's going to be a dog fight. And, that's going to be a great second game, and what all the games are going to be outstanding. I just can't believe we're in the position to be able to cover them, guys. But looking forward to the Portersville versus Malden championship for the Bootheel Conference title.
Yeah, we're definitely blessed. And I tell you what, thanks to everybody there at Porterville, man. Great hospitality we've been shown this week, man. And Trover has done an awesome job for sure, man. And hospitality room's been great. I know Joe Williams would like to hear that shout out, man. We've been treated great there as well. Jeremy, you got a big one tomorrow night, buddy. You got the championship game. You got the main event. I got the featured match. Chris has got the semi, and you got the main event. But first, man, you got to talk about that Campbell team, man. Them and South Pemiscot had a heck of a battle, too, last night. We ain't really touched on that game, so let's touch on that a little bit. And tell us about Campbell, man. I know Fowler, Crosville going to have to step up their game and get that young man off his game because he lit it up last night, man. He looked like his big brother in that state championship run, draining threes.
Yes, Fowler is definitely their leader and point scorer. I don't know what we're going to have to do because that's the thing that scares me the most. Now, I'm not scared going into this game, but what scares me the most is Crosville plays so aggressive on defense, and they're gonna double team Fowler. There's no doubt about that. But they go for so many picks and so many steals that we saw the foul trouble. Luckily, no Tiger fouled out in the game against Haysai, but we were in foul trouble for sure. I know Sammy had 4. I think Jermonte had 2 in the first couple of minutes, so he had to watch out with that. Campbell, they got the number 1 seed, and there was so much controversy about it, and we all heard who should have got this and that and whatever. Well, guess what? They came out and they played like they earned that number 1 seed, and they can shoot the ball from anywhere on the court. They absolutely dominate under the boards. And that's something that Crosville's going to have to watch out for because Crosville spreads it out so much, passing the ball around. Usually they do have one guy underneath the rim, but if Campbell comes out and plays the way they did, Crosville's going to have to bring what they brought. They're basically going to have to duplicate the third quarter of the Hayti-Crosville game in every quarter tomorrow night at the championship. And I spoke to a Campbell fan. I didn't get his name, and I wouldn't use his name on the air anyway, but I spoke to a Campbell fan after the Crosville game, and he said, man, I'll tell you what. He said, I'm from Campbell, but if Crosville plays as physical as they did in this game on Thursday night, I don't like our chances. And that was something I really like to hear. And the Tigers got a chip on the shoulder. They had the Camels beat. They had them down big with 3 minutes left in the game at Caruthersville. I don't think Coach Bell's gonna be upset with me saying they absolutely let Campbell come back in that game, tie it up, and then in overtime, Caruthersville scores the first 4 points. From there, it was all Campbell in the 4-minute overtime, and Campbell went on to win, I think, by 7. So, usually, as we've seen lately, especially yesterday, Caruthersville and Coach Bell great at making adjustments. We talked about that with Payne being so hot in the first quarter or the first half, and then Caruthersville kind of slowing him down a little bit in the second half. Was that just the adjustments that Coach Bell and the defense made? Whatever, it worked because they did slow down Payne, who was absolutely lighting up the gym. So I think what needs to happen for the Tigers, the first half has got to be close. They were not lucky. They were good enough to come back from a big deficit against the Indians, who played a better first half, bar none. But I don't see going down, being down by double-digit points at half, any way of clawing back, because that Campbell team is so feisty, and they have so many shooters, and they're led by Fowler, like you said. I think it's going to be a fantastic championship matchup, 1 versus 2. And as we get to our top 10s here in a little bit, you want to talk about a shakeup. That game tomorrow night is going to do some shaking up. It's going to be fantastic, folks. I hope if you're not going to be there, if you're not going to be there to get as loud as it was yesterday, tune in, because I promise you, it'll be the gym's going to be rocking. I'll be losing a voice, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. A championship game of the Bootheel Conference Tournament. We've talked all year long how we think, we may be biased, but maybe telling the truth. When the competition level up and down 1 through 8 in the Bootheel Conference, to me, is as tough as it gets in the state.
Yeah, I totally agree, Jeremy. The Boot Hill Conference is tough as it gets, man. They talk a lot about that old Stoddard County Conference, but I don't see it 1 through 7 or 8, whatever they got, and we got 7. So we match up. It's just like comparing the SEC and the ACC, I guess. But, man, two tough conferences, but I got to give the edge to the Boot Hill Conference in this one.
I do too.
All right, now it's time to roll out that top 10. We'll start as we usually always do with Jeremy Abrams and his top 10. Let's get them, Jeremy.
Well, honorable mention, a team that we haven't talked a whole lot about, but honorable mention that's creeping up. They're about a 500 team so far, but some of their wins are big. That's Charleston. That's my honorable mention for the night. And then I'd had a pretty big shakeup since the Boot Hill Conference Tournament and a couple other games I was going back and watching, or mostly reading about. I'm going to start off with number 10, Bernie. I had them drop down a little bit. I know we had them really high up in the previous weeks, but I got Bernie at 10. Unfortunately, to my folks out there at South Penn, I got you dropping again, mostly because of the Boot Hill Conference Tournament, but still in the top 10. I got them down to 9. East Prairie, they haven't really changed a whole lot. They're still winning. They still have a great record. We're going to see what they do. I think they've got their conference tournament starting tomorrow. Is that right? Maybe.
I think it might have already started.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I was looking at their schedule. I think that they play Scott City on the 7th.
Woodland, I got them. They dropped down to 7. They had a big matchup against Puxico, and didn't turn out so well for Woodland, so they dropped down to number 7. I got Risco right on top of them at 6. And then we talk about some Boot Hill Conference teams. I've got Hayti still at number 5. They dropped a couple spots, or just I think one spot in my rankings from last week. But Hayti, they proved to me they are the real deal. They're so fast, and for Crothersville to come back, that's why I got Crothersville one spot ahead of them at number 4. Because I still throw out the very, very first part of the season. There's 4 games that I don't think about right now. I think about what Crothersville has done. What have you done for me lately, kind of thing, and that's what top 10s are about, changing weekly. At number 3, well deserved, I got Campbell, and of course that's what I'm talking about with the shakeup. Campbell 3, Crothersville 4, and we get to see them go after the title tomorrow night. So that's obviously going to change next week. At number 2, and Mark, you got to see it firsthand. I got to watch it firsthand. Scott City, I got number 2. I think they're that good. I really do. People around down here, southern part of the Boot Hill, haven't got to see them as much, but Mark, you got to see them. I got Scott City at number 2 as the strongest team, and right behind number 1 Puxico, and they're going to stay number 1 until somebody knocks them off or beats them. And the way they're playing right now, I don't see it happening until we get further into their conference tournament and then playoffs. So Puxico number 1. How about you? Let's go, Chris.
Okay, yeah, sure. My honorable mention as well. I've got Charleston breaking in here at 10-9. They took Jackson, Class 6 team, to a overtime last night or night before. I don't know if they've got a player or two that wasn't on the roster earlier in the year, but when you do that, you get my attention, and I'm going to give Charleston right now an honorable mention. I know they got Woodland coming up. They also got Cape coming up, so we'll see if they move up or stick around on my poll. So getting into my top 10, number 10, I've got South Pemiscot, 11-6. They've got Bunker coming up, which is a tough team, 14-3. They also got Richland, and they got Bay, Arkansas, and Pocahontas coming up as well. I don't know much about those teams, but I got South Pem at my 10. I got Bernie at number 9, 12-5. Bernie is at Hayti on the 11th, and they also play Campbell on the 13th. So I know we're going to have a show before then, but just kind of giving a preview of what's coming up. Number 8, I got Hayti, 13-3. They got a big game with Risco coming up later on in the month. That's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see. Also, they got Richland on the schedule. 7, East Prairie, 16-3. They do have Campbell coming up on the 11th. That'll be a good game. Number 6 team is Woodland, 16-2. The number 5 team for me and the biggest mover for me is the Crowsville Tigers at number 5, 10-8. They play for the championship tomorrow against a tough Campbell team. They also got South Iron coming up, which will be a good game and a good test. So I'm really excited about the Crowsville Tigers, and congratulations to my good friend, Coach Lamont Bell, on what he's done and how he pulled out that game against Hayti. My top 4, Risco, number 4 at 16-2. My number 3 team is Scott City at 17-3. They really don't have any threat games really the rest of the way. I was looking at their schedule earlier until the Class 3 District 2 tournament. My number 2 team is Campbell. They proved a lot to me by beating South Pim. I bumped them all up a pretty good jump. But we'll see how it turns out after tomorrow night. And then, of course, my number 1 team is Puxico. They do host Woodland in a rematch of their conference final coming up on the 18th in the regular season. But right now, Puxico's got to be number 1 for me, and that's my top 10.
Yeah. So my honorable mentions, I'm going Charleston to start. Like Jared mentioned, they are just above 500, but they have some very solid wins. And that loss against Jackson in overtime, taking them to overtime last night, fantastic play. I also have Twin Rivers. I'm still high on Twin Rivers. Twin Rivers. I'm still high on them. To start my top 10, I have my biggest mover who's going down, which is Bernie. It is just the end of that Stoddard County tournament for them, really. It was just a bad ending for them. Number 9, I have South Pim, who, since the last time we did a top 10, they beat Cooter down. I was not here to talk about the 3 Mile rivalry Friday night, but they beat Cooter, and it's just the past 2 losses to Scott City and Campbell that really move them down a lot. Now I have East Prairie. They beat Twin Rivers by 38 and are just coasting right now. Ever since that Bloomfield Christmas tournament slip up, they have been near perfect basketball. 7, I have Hayti. Seeing them live for the first time, they are absolute hoopers over there. It's just they lost to Crothersville. And speaking of Crothersville, they're number 6. Strong win against Hayti when they looked down and out, and on to the championship against Campbell. 5, I have Woodland. It was just an ugly loss against Puxico there. 4, Risco. I want to talk about on the 8th, this upcoming Saturday. Risco plays Campbell. That's what's on the mission schedule. That game is potential. A game of the season, possibly, over there. Well, my top 3, same as Chris and Jer, I'm pretty sure. Scott City, they beat South Pim. They look great right now. Campbell at number 2 and Puxico at number 1. And until someone unseats Puxico from that throne, they're staying there.
Yeah, I think all of us got about these same teams, and Charleston has came on everybody's radar. I'm going to tell you that right now, man. And apologize about the internet problems. I don't know if you guys are, but I'm buffering really bad here. My internet's still down. I'm on a Wi-Fi hotspot, so my apologies for that. Cannot help that out of my control. But anyway, Charleston and South Pim, I have both tied at number 10. South Pim's 11-6, Charleston 10-9. Look out for the Blue Jays in that Class 2, District 2, man, with Puxico. So I'm calling it right now. Charleston's going to come out on that top of that district, man. Remember, Mark Manley told you first. And I'm not putting nothing in at stake, just in case that don't happen. So no more shaving after Sunday. Number 9 is the Bernie Mules. At 12-5, Coach Jason Long, one of the best coaches around this area. So always got Bernie playing basketball at the right time, man. And I know they had some injuries, and they'll get those guys back. Look out. Acock in the middle is a presence. Probably 6'4", 6'5", big old boy. And can play some basketball there. Of course, they got some shooters. As always, they can shoot the three. I got number 8 is East Prairie. They're 16-3, excuse me. Coming in at number 8. And number 7 is Woodland. I dropped them all the way to number 7 after Puxico just destroyed them, 16-2. Did not impress me in that championship game. Big opportunity for Woodland to show the area down here what they could do. Didn't show up for a championship game. It's got to be a disappointing, but I'm sure they'll rebound. They got some opportunities ahead of them. Number 6, I got my Hayti Indians at 13-3. Still one of the best teams around. I'll put them against anybody. They can play ball. They got a major impact player sitting on the bench who's going to come back. And when he does, look out for the Indians. Number 5, I got the Crosville Tigers, 10-8. The best 10-8 team there is in the state. I'll put them against anybody as well. Number 4, I got the Risco Tigers, who are 16-2. Risco's got a big game, as Charlie said, with Campbell on Saturday. That is on a neutral court at Three Rivers Community College. What a game that is going to be to watch. Number 3, I got Campbell. Speaking of Campbell, here they are at number 3. They're 17-2. And Campbell, if they beat Crosville and win that Bootheel Conference tournament, they will be number 1 in my poll come Sunday. That's right. Scott City, number 2. Scott City got size. They can shoot the ball. They're very patient, work it around. I was impressed with what I saw on the coverage of Scott City. Look out for the Rams, guys. And number 1, as we all said, Puxico, until somebody hits the old dethrone button, it is what it is. So there we go. That's all our top 10s. Let's touch base again tomorrow night on the Bootheel Sports Network. We will have all 3 games. I started off in the JV championship as the Indians and Lions battle it off. Should be a great one, man. Those Lions are going to be tough to beat for the number 1 seed, Hayti Indians. And then Chris Brown is the middleman. He's got the Dogs and the Green Wave. Chris, thoughts on that one?
Coach Kelly Fowler will have them ready. Coach Ty Miller, they got a lot to play for as they're representing Coach Ron Riddle. It's going to be a little bit emotional game for me, possibly. It'll be a good battle between good old Bootheel Conference teams and Coach Kelly Fowler and Coach Ty Miller, 2 great ladies coaches in the Bootheel Conference.
All right, then the nightcap, the main event of the evening. Jeremy Abrams has got it. The varsity championship between the Crosville Tigers and the Campbells. And I'm going to tell you right now, Jeremy, I talked with a friend of mine from Campbell who says he likes the Crosville matchup. He would rather match up with them because Hayti will shoot you out of the zone. But I'm going to tell you right now, if Sammy Bryant continues to do what he did last night, sink them threes, Crosville can shoot him out of that zone as well.
Yeah, they can drop him at any point, and it's like we saw. I consider Quan McVeigh. Anytime he's open, he's got about an 85% chance of making a 3. Jermonte, we haven't until the last couple games or so, last couple weeks, I should say, see him pull up for 3 as much. But he's been dropping them too, and if he does that along with Sammy, then that's going to be scary because Crosville showed, especially late in that game against Hayti, when they're down under the boards, they're as physical as they come, getting those rebounds. And if the other team, the opposing team, gets the rebound, stripping it away or knocking it away and getting a turnover, this Campbell matchup is just so interesting because, like I said, Crosville has seen them beat them for 3.5 quarters. They know you would think that they know their weak spots. But then again, Campbell has figured out Crothersville, and the way that they played yesterday, they look and act like a number 1 seeded team. They really do, and this is why I think it's going to be one of the best championships of recent history. And again, I'm going to focus on the foul trouble. I like, and of course I'm biased. I'm the voice of the Tigers, but if Caruthersville stays out of foul trouble, I like Caruthersville to win this game. And I'm not, just like you said, Mark, I'm not going to put anything on that. I'm just going to put my pride and my trust in my Caruthersville Tigers. I think the Caruthersville Tigers wear the Camels down and come away with the championship. But no matter what, and I'm going to go right to you, Chris, no matter what, this game has all the makings of being an instant, especially on the Bootheel Sports Network, an instant classic. And I hope everyone that doesn't get to make it tunes in, because I can promise you I'll be as fired up as I've been this entire season, and that includes football season too. Chris, what do you got, buddy?
One thing I'm curious about, guys, and I'm gonna be watching when this game, Jeremy will be calling this action, is last night in the Crowsville Haytie game, I personally thought the officiating was outstanding. I know I had some people that I was in communication with today that complained and griped about the officiating, this and that. I seen several bumps that wasn't called, and I like that. To me, that's Boot Hill Conference basketball. Now, the fouls on the shots, you got to take those. But I thought it was 10-star, the officiating in that contest. Some people might not agree with me, but I thought it was. But here's the point I want to make. Is Coach Fowler going to allow that type of officiating to go on? Because you guys know as well as I do, he can be pretty intimidating on that sideline over there, and he knows how to coach. He knows how to work these officials. So one thing interesting that I'm going to be looking for is how is this game going to be officiated, and how is Coach Fowler going to work those officials? Because I think if the game is officiated like it was last night, I think Crowsville's going to win. There's no doubt about it. I think that the physicality is going to have to be toned down a notch. I'm not calling Campbell soft by any means, but I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think that's one big thing that I can't wait to see in this last game that Jeremy's going to be calling is how's officiating going to be and how's Coach Fowler's going to react to that officiating. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm glad you said that too, because we're so good and so quick as spectators and as fans and even as, writers and broadcasters. We're always so quick to knock the refs, no matter what. I mean, that's and it's because it's the human nature. That's what it is. You got to blame the refs. Charlie, we've said it on typed it up on the poster boards basically. But you're right about the officiating, and if you go back and listen to me and Mark's broadcast, you'll hear several times for both teams say, in mid action, turnovers and no call on the play, or there's a bump but no call. You're right, and that's the thing. It didn't go one way or the other. They let them play. It was physical. Both teams were very physical, very fast, and you're right. And this is why I think I'd give the edge to Caruthersville, because if it's the same type of officiating, it's the best officiating I've seen all season, this entire tournament. And the Boot Hill Conference got it right when they got these guys, which you guys usually or mostly know by first name on a first name basis. Hats off to these guys, because I think they're doing a great job, and I hope like you, Chris, I hope to see the same thing tomorrow and just let Caruthersville and Campbell duke it out the way that they should. And like I said, I've got Caruthersville winning it all, and Coach Bell's chiming in saying Campbell's got a great team, and he knows it. He's seen it firsthand, and was strong enough. He'll talk about the loss, because that was a tough loss on the Caruthersville season. It was a big loss, and they're ready to rebound from that.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the key points that Caruthersville needs to hone in on with Campbell is that they need to find a way to speed Campbell all the way up and play to a Caruthersville level, because when these teams, especially these fast teams, go against a team that's a little bit slower in the pace and can hold on to the ball, possession, find the best shot, then that team that finds the possession, gets the best shot, usually is the one who's on top at the end. I mean, you saw it with the Campbell-Caruthersville game to start, or at homecoming. When Campbell would hold on to the ball, Caruthersville couldn't really do anything because it would make them slow down too. And something that Caruthersville really can capitalize off of is these mistakes, these mental errors that Campbell can make. just a loose ball or a bad pass or something going the way of the Tigers. And on the speed side, it's very obvious. I don't want to harp like a homer, but it's very obvious who has the speed differential in this game.
Don't forget though, Lady
Yeah.
Kellum is pretty fast for
Yeah.
Campbell. I've
That's
seen
right.
him drive
That
that
is.
lane. He's pretty fast, and he'll play that way unless Coach Steve Fowler pulls him back. But don't forget about Kellum. He's fast.
Yeah. He
Yeah, I was
certainly
just
is.
about to touch bases on that. Kellum is a ball player, man. He can do it all. Runs that point for Campbell, man. He can shoot it, drive, dish it, and he is everything that a ball player you want, man. Hustles the whole game, can fill the bucket up, give you great defense. And Campbell's got some players, man. Siebert can shoot the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Fowler. So you're gonna have to do a lot of yes. Yeah, hey, I'll tell you what, I would love to have Jensen on the Hayti football team. That's where Jensen neast to be.
He's going to be
He's
busy
a hog,
tomorrow
man. I'm
night.
telling-
He's going to
Yes.
be busy
Yeah.
tomorrow night.
Yeah.
He uses that big body of his, man, and gets some rebounds. And I'll tell you what, he's a big man you would love to have on the inside. He gets physical, can shoot the ball a little bit too, man. So, and it's going to be a great matchup. I can't wait, man. It's Tuesday. I was ready for the Hayti Crosville game. Tomorrow I'm going to be ready for this one. And all three of our championship games, actually. We're going to have some great games on the Bootheel Sports Network that has happened since Saturday. If you hadn't joined us yet, where have you been? You have missed a great tournament. Make sure you go like, share, subscribe to the Bootheel Sports Network. Jeremy, closing thoughts, my man.
From the 14-hour day Saturday to the short night we had Monday to last night, which was just really, really fun. All day long was fun. I think this is the perfect culmination of the championship night, the JV game. I from every single game, I have to give a credit to the Portersville Bulldogs. Now, don't get me wrong; they are going to have their hands full with Malden. That's the first time that I got to see the Lady Green Wave play. Was in this tournament, and man, are they impressive. So I'm not saying that Portersville is going to win by a landslide or anything, but the Portersville Bulldogs, folks, if you haven't got a chance to watch them, tune in tomorrow night or show up at the stadium, at the arena. Gymnasium is what I'm trying to look for, but yeah, I'll get there. But
He's already getting exciting.
At the Coliseum. Big South Coliseum. Portersville.
Monday night.
We're expecting
Big South
70,000
Coliseum. Portersville
strong.
versus Malden.
But yeah, no. Overall, I think I've had so much fun with this tournament. It's everything that it was hyped up to be, and I think we're just going to have the cherry on the cake tomorrow night. I look forward to it. And folks, just like Mark said, if you haven't caught any of this action yet, tune in, like, share with your friends, and subscribe. We can tell by the numbers that a lot of people are watching it, and we just want a lot more. And tomorrow night's going to be a big reason why we do what we do. So tune in. And last but not least, go Tigers. Chris, any final thoughts?
Chris,
I got
It's
three
Chris.
final thoughts. Yeah, I got three final thoughts. My number one final thought is I want to say hello to my Aunt Brenda Bagwell out there. She's a big Boot Hills Sports Network fan, and she's been tuning in since football. And she sent me a text a while ago and said she was tuning in. Love you, Aunt Brenda. My second final thought is, guys, we got 6 different schools, being represented in these finals. I don't know. I'm sure it's happened before, but normally that's pretty odd. So my point in that is this: if you're going to come to the game, you might want to get there early, because there's going to be a lot of fans that's going to be showing up at Jim Bible Court to watch these 6 teams play in these 3 championship games. And I'm going to close with this, guys. We are the Boot Hill Sports Network. We are your local source for high school sports in the boot. But I'm going to say, but I'm going to take it a little bit further than that, guys. I'm not knocking any of these media outlets that come to these tournaments, but there ain't nobody, and I mean nobody, that knows these teams better than we do. And I'm going to leave it at that, because we know Portageville, we know Crothersville, and we know Hayti. And tune in to the Boot Hill Sports Network if you want the real inside scoop, because we got it. That's
Chris,
all I
you
got
got
to
me
say.
wanting to run through a wall right now after that. I
Hey,
feel
that's
like
a
I'm
classy Chris promo, baby.
gonna rip off
Ah,
my jersey and hoodie. I'm gonna have a big BSN tattoo down here. I'm hyped. But no, tomorrow's gonna be a great day of basketball. Like I said a few weeks ago, this is a celebration of basketball right here. The Boot Hill Sports Network is here and it's here to stay. And the Boot Hill Conference Tournament has never been more alive right now. 6 schools being represented, 6 cities being represented, and from Hayti to Zenith to Portageville to Malden to Campbell to Crothersville, it's going to be a good one tomorrow night in Jim Bidewell Court. And let's just close it out with this: Go Tigers, go, baby!
Got to play Tiger basketball tomorrow night.
Gotta have a
Coach
good
G.
shoot around.
As G would say.
He sent me a text.
Hey, all funds aside, guys. Yeah, he sent me one too. He made me he put the old nail in the old coffin last night with that text, but I didn't let him know it bothered me until now. So neither here nor there. Tomorrow night on the Boot Hill Sports Network, we're gonna have 3 great championship games. Thanks to all the viewership this week, we have hit record highs. Hope we have lived up to our expectations. I know we did have a few problems Saturday morning with everybody on the network, and we tried to multi-stream, and that's why we just have gone to YouTube strictly, because the multi-stream did not work with everybody else on the internet as well. So we enjoy it. We love it. We are Boot Hill basketball, and there's nothing like it. As Chris said earlier, we're your local source for high school sports in the boot. We'll close you out on that. We will see you tomorrow night.